This is a flight from Boone, North Carolina, NC14 to Lake Norman, 14 Alpha. And I made this video because when I flew into this airport, I called the owner and asked him if he had any suggestions or commentary about flying in, and he said this was a very unforgiving airport flying into. So because of that, I made this file. If you look, you have two runways, 31 and 13. It's 2,700 feet long. It's about 30 or 40 feet wide, not very much more. It's a uniqueness. It has a downwind that's in a separate valley, and I indicated that with that road. You can see in the middle of the screen from the top to the bottom there's two hills. On either side of the hills are your pivot points for your base or crosswind. And as well, on the top side of the screen, there is the end of the ridge has a grass field and a church there, and that's really your aim point when you're flying in to runway 31. You don't come straight in, and the reason why is there's a hill that's straight off that has a house on top of it, and the owner said that they really don't like their houses being buzzed or getting very close. And so this requires that when you fly into 31 that you have to not see the runway itself until you're making your left and right jog. So what we'll do is we'll take off from runway 13 here, and we'll go to east to Lake Norman, and we'll come down out of the mountains, and it's just a beautiful flight. So here we are on 13. I'm taking off. I'm actually recording this on my GPS, and you can see that hill right there, and there's a house on top of the hill, so I'm turning left to avoid that. Just behind me is the town of Boone, and I'm coming off of this flat area that makes up the Boone area. It's a beautiful place, and it just drops down about 1,800 feet. I'm going to fly to about 5,500 feet to fly back to Lake Norman. As we get through this mountainous area, it will become flat a little bit, and so if you would like, you can fast forward to the landing at Lake Norman. The reason why I say that, it's an interesting landing because you come in right over the lake. There are some trees and a house, one house, and then immediately there's the airport, so I have to have quite a steep descent on the approach and land the plane. So in pilot speak, there's a lot of ways that we navigate. One way is with GPS. Another way is with a thing called a VOR. And I'm heading right for a top of one of these hills here. And on it, there is a VOR that's more or less a radio beacon. And it's been used for many years, and they're used even to this day. And so if you look more or less right in the center of the screen, you'll see a hill. And then on that hill, you'll see a grass area. And in that grass area there's a white dot, and that's the VOR. And then immediately after it, it's just going away from the screen right now, I'll be turning left and heading towards Lake Norman. And I was wrong before. There's the VOR right there. You see that brown road? It looks like a dirt road, and then on top there's a white dot. That's the VOR. So now I'll start to turn, and then in front of us is a river called the Catawba River, and that makes up Lake Norman eventually. Lake Norman's a dammed lake. It's got about 1,800 miles of shoreline. So it's a pretty good size lake. It's north of Charlotte, North Carolina. The total time in this flight in my 172 was about 35 minutes. Obviously this is sped up a little bit. I'm recording this on my iPad because it has a GPS in it, and then it's then downloaded to Google Earth. So that's how we're doing this. So this is an actual flight. Now what I've just done is I've just requested from the air traffic control that they cancel my flight following. They watch me on their systems, and so I just asked them that they cancel it. I'm flying over the Catawba River. You can see there on the right or in the center of the screen now a blue dot, and that's a turf airport made out of grass called Long Island, and it's got this bridge. See that bridge right there? A bridge that aims right for that runway. So now I'm lining myself up for Lake Norman. I'm talking with the pilots in the area. As a matter of fact, there's one waiting for me, and I apologize to him to making this a long final like this. This is really not the proper way to do it, but since I was making this data recording, I decided to do it. So this is an uncontrolled airport, so there's no control tower, so we talk to each other with very specific language. So you can see coming over the water, those trees are pretty tall. They're about 150 feet tall, maybe. So you really come down. It feels like you're coming down off of a 10-story tall building. And now I'm landing. And with the power of Google Earth, it looks like I go off the runway really fast, but I actually don't. And what was interesting about this Google Earth file is that this picture was taken a long time ago, but you can see my plane in this Google Earth right here. And it's going to be the second one on your left side right there. See that? Well, thanks for watching. I appreciate it.